Welcome and good evening. I will call the BCTV annual meeting for members to order. It is 6:07 on. As always, welcome to those of you in the room and to those watching at home. And my name is Alex Beck. I'm the board president. And as always, it's my pleasure to welcome you all here tonight. While our upcoming producers party, which everyone is so fond of, celebrates our incredible producers, tonight, in my opinion, is always about celebrating the BCTV staff, my fellow board members, and really the fantastic work everyone's been doing this year, making sure BCTV is living by the values of be creative, be informed, and be local. And what a year it's been. We launched a new website. We expanded our election coverage across the region. We deepened community partnership with other media and arts organizations. And we welcomed a new board member, Adam Drescher, who also supported BCTV and donated thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and so has contributed a lot to the capital upgrades in our studio. And so special thanks and best wishes to him. And of course, we hired a new rock star executive director, Johnny Gifford, who's been instrumental to all of the successes above. And a lot hasn't changed. And we're grateful for the dedicated long-term BCTV staff who have, in just 5 short years, weathered COVID, Comcast, and a new executive director with grace and expertise, and I'm assuming some other things that got them through these times. But and so just with the utmost gratitude to the staff, again, the board, and all of our members, thank you. And I'll turn it over to Johnny, who will lead us through the annual State of the Station presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for introducing me, for being a fearless board president, as you have been for at least a couple of terms now. We appreciate everything you've done for real. I'm going to take a moment here and show this here presentation on the screen to my right. And I'm going to do that by unplugging this, plugging it back in, and switching over to mirroring my screen rather than extending. So I see what you see. And I think that'll make everything good for everyone. And then I'm going to also share my screen on Zoom so any online participants can see. I really thought that clever trick would work. I just got to go to my displays real quick. And switch to mirroring. All right. Got that part done, and then I'm just gonna share my screen here. Present on the slideshow. Lynn out there, can you see this presentation?
I see a nice full page there. Yes.
Love it. Mute this here. Okay. So again, welcome to BCTV's annual meeting for the fiscal year 2024. So we're talking here July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, though we, in some of the photos or information you might see here, I might kind of stretch the time boundary sometimes because things are concurrent, ongoing all the time with BCTV. We have a lot of big projects we've been working on for a while. So but financially, this is the date range that we're looking at here. So this is our staff. Our staff here. This is basically the entirety of the main staff at this current time. There are 2 folks not pictured here who are no longer working with us. Galen Robinson, a dedicated field producer for a number of years. And Core Trowbridge, as all of you know, was our executive director. She transitioned over to special projects manager. after retiring as being executive director, and worked with us through the fiscal year as special projects manager. And I want feedback on how good my Photoshop job was with Austin in the back there. That means a lot coming from you, Garrett. And we have our board. This is from this image is from last year's producer party. Things have changed a little bit on the board since then. Bob Gammon was our previous secretary, and Nancy Wolf is our current secretary. Missing from this photo is Garrett, who's our vice president, and Adam Drescher, who was appointed to the board earlier this spring. So to start off with our underwriters, our two main underwriters have remained pretty loyal and consistent, being Brattleboro Savings and Loan in conjunction with Park Place Financial Advisors and the Brattleboro Food Co-op. We thank them for just always supporting community media and being really big players in town. We could not be doing what we're doing without their support over the years. We also solicit some support for some of our live productions and some of our big productions of the year, namely Town Meeting Day is a big one. We cover 8 towns and I think 9 town meetings. And so we do those pro bono because we understand it's very important to provide this coverage for local communities. And we appreciate local organizations that support us in doing so. These are some of them here, or I think all of them, unless I had a second slide. No, just that slide. And Harris Hill Ski Jump, we also live stream that on the Saturday and Sunday that they do that in February every year. And that production is getting bigger and bigger. It's probably our biggest production that we have. It's in fact how our newest board member, Adam Drescher, found out about BCTV, was through our coverage of Harris Hill Ski Jump and how impressed he was with that. And this year I sort of pushed it out to some of our sponsors and some new sponsors of like, hey, this is a really big production we do that is very important for the community. Would you consider sponsoring our coverage of this as well? And these were the local businesses that decided to help us out and throw us some bucks for this coverage as well. And then finally, we have our graduation sponsors. We cover, I believe, 3 graduations every year. Brattleboro Area Middle School, Brattleboro Union High School, and Leland and Gray. Is that a middle and high school? Or it's just, yeah, it's a middle and a high school. Yep. And so again, similar thing, we understand the importance of being able to connect families to seeing their loved ones graduate. And we live stream all of these graduations that I just mentioned. And these are the sponsors that helped us do that through their monetary support. So here we are ushering a new era in a multitude of ways. We've said goodbye, like I mentioned, to Cora Trowbridge, who was the previous executive director, and her last executive decision, or maybe one of her last executive decisions, was getting us up on that pyramid. It's something she's wanted for a while, and it was not fun. I'll just say that. But we respected her wishes. Yeah, it was. And Galen Robinson on the right there, who was a dedicated videographer for a number of years at BCTV. And, now we're ushering in new blood, not only myself as a new executive director, but new field producers as well. Lots of new things, and I'll go over them sort of as we go on here. We have a new website. That's the big one. And I want to talk a little bit about that here for a moment, because there's just so much that we can offer on this website. It feels so easy to navigate on any platform or device that you're using it on. And I just kind of want to highlight some of the really exciting features that make this really interactive for the community to be able to use. So this is the main homepage, and it'll show you, some of the recent live streams we've done in addition to what's coming up. So if a select board is coming up in the next night or that day, then you can go right to our website and see where to watch it. And we have this slider on the front as well that I'm using to sort of push out there what's exciting, what's new, who is Wendy's latest guest on her show, that sort of a thing, and big front and center for folks to see. You can join as a member right from the website. You can see all the information on what it means to be a member, eligibility for both individuals and nonprofits. And there's a form straight up on this page to submit that we will receive. It'll grant you membership and, a login to the website and everything. And then once you become a member, you can also become a producer. And being a member and producer is slightly different, because a producer means that we're granting you access to BCTV's facilities, to borrow cameras, and to edit, and to submit shows to us remotely as well. And, there's just some training and some reservation processes that must happen before you become a producer. And so the website lays it all out. And we have a whole online interface for you to be doing all these things, reserving equipment, editing facilities, and submitting your content. It's very smart. You can, so like I was saying, this is sort of all of the different options as a producer, including even training. You can request training as well. And we have a very robust video library on this website. Let me tell you, this is just the recently added shows, just sort of what it looks like as it was today. But we have thousands upon thousands of videos on this video library, and so much so that the website developers were kind of taken aback at how many we had, and miles more than any other client they have worked with before. And they've worked with other local access clients before. Someone might remember, but it's something like 12 or 13,000 or something. I don't know if you guys remember that, but I'm pretty sure it's around that number of videos we have available. And it's mostly taken from our YouTube page and then embedded onto the website here. Those two things talk to each other. We have information for organizations on this new website, including memberships being the baseline, information about doing a BCTV Open Studio, which is an opportunity to go in the studio with someone like myself or another host to learn more about the organization, to help get public service announcements out there. It's something we've been doing more of. They can submit PSAs, request coverage of their events, and yeah, they can do all of that by joining as a member. We also have information on the website for volunteering and interning, not only just what we offer, but you can straight up fill out a form. It comes to us, and then you're answering all the questions that we would need to know if you're interested in volunteering or becoming an intern. You can also sign up for our annual youth video camp through our website too, which is great. It gives you options to register either by mail or online, and you can see all the videos that previous campers have made before. So this is a great page to show prospective camper parents if they're thinking about sending their kids to our summer camp. We also have very transparent information on how much things cost if you want to request BCTV's production services. And honestly, this page is super helpful, and I often use it as a reference when I'm speaking with like a local client or nonprofit or whoever who might want BCTV to cover something for them. And then you can also just straight up, rather than calling or emailing me, you can just request event coverage right through the website, and it asks you all the information that we're going to need to know to feel equipped to cover your event. We also can boast now a full production calendar on our website. It's under our services production calendar. I think this is really cool because this reflects the calendar that we use internally on a day-to-day basis, and it shows all the municipal meetings that we're covering in addition to everything else that we're covering. You'll see like on a Saturday, there's like Warlay on the Saturday the 7th, which was a live stream we did this past weekend at Epsilon Spires, and you can click on that and you can get detailed information about the event. Sometimes there might be a link to an actual event page. All of the municipal meetings, if they are hybrid, which they all are at this point, you can find Zoom links and other agenda information all through this production calendar. And I think this is a really great resource that we're able to offer the community. So with the website, that was a lot of work, and Core, as special projects manager, was really heading that for the most part, looping in all of us, and sort of we're working with the developers as needed as well. But while that was all happening, we were doing some studio upgrades as well. I'll say, namely, our new board member, Adam Drescher, and Nolan Edgar and myself were spent a lot of time in the studio to decide what was antiquated, old, wasn't working anymore, and what do we need to replace that with, and what is the new equipment, and how do we install it, and how is it going to work in our current workflow. Our current workflow is a little convoluted, to say the least, considering that we have in-studio shows, we have select board meetings right downstairs that we run from the control room, among other things, and it's just the broadcasting aspect of it makes it, and the hybrid aspect of it makes it very convoluted. So we put a lot of work into this. We got donations from Sweet Spot TV, which is Adam's company. So that rack that he's standing in back there was the old rack in the control room. It was about 7 feet tall, and it was filled with equipment that was not being used anymore. And instead, we have managed to pare everything down to the smaller rack that's right in front of Nolan here, with a bunch of new equipment, some older equipment. And it's just so much more room in there now because it's a small room. We also updated our switching computer from an old, probably early mid 2000s broadcast picks to a new, pretty robust video production like computer called the Bison, and we're running a program called vMix on that to switch all of our studio shows and our select board meetings. We also updated our audio mixer. We're sort of in the process of that still, but we did receive the donation in the last fiscal year. We're going to be looking to switch from analog audio to digital audio. It's the way of the future, all that. We added or maybe re-added the ability to talk back to the studio. So if someone's in the control room and they want to tell the on-air talent, like, can you move over a few inches? Then now we can do that, speaking directly into the room, which is something we were missing for a little while. And we also got new studio cameras, 3 pan, tilt, zoom cameras that, and when I say that, I mean that they can pan, tilt, and zoom basically on their own with the simple click of a button. And they're very high quality, and we're using them for studio shoots and for select board meetings. And there they are. Look at them. They're beautiful, aren't they? Yeah, so that's just in the course of 1 year, all of those upgrades. And it was a lot of time in the control room of just ripping stuff out and figuring it out as we went. But it was definitely a team effort. And yeah, we're providing very high quality coverage of all these studio shows and events and select board meetings now. Here's another image of us sort of reorienting the studio. So in addition to these upgrades, we also moved the set from the corner of the room, which felt a little claustrophobic, just onto the side wall, which felt, when you're sitting at the desk and on camera, it feels just more open. There's more room for staff and crew to move around the set as well, and to just sort of plug things in without being cramped back there. So this is us sort of reorienting the set in its entirety. And we got new field cameras as well. This is another upgrade. So we're now rocking some Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras. They're 4K. And it's great because they're providing expanded opportunities for us. And for our members can use them if they are trained on them, and we think that they'll be responsible with them. These cameras differ from our traditional, Canon camcorders in the way that they shoot more cinema quality video, which can be a great opportunity for BCTV. We've already been hired by Retreat Farm this past summer to film like a series of public service announcements and tours of their area and interviews with their staff and events over there. And we use these cinema cameras as a way to really show this beautiful area in our town in the highest quality possible. They were thrilled with the result. We were thrilled with the result. And it's just, the future is looking good for BCTV's ability to deliver really high quality content. That's a still image from one of the Retreat Farm videos. Again, I think, you might not know what it looks compared to some of our other cameras, but I just think it looks pretty stunning. Here's another image from Retreat Farm. I just think I'm just really stoked about these new cameras. And our board vice president, Garrett, was kind enough to give us a workshop training course on them yesterday as well, to give us more tips and tricks on how to best utilize them and train our staff. So those are the upgrades. I want to move on to some programming metrics. Overall, we're seeing programming increase on the local side of things. So comparing things to last fiscal year, our local programming, so that's all shows created by people that are BCTV members and in our service area. The total amount of time of local programming has increased by about 7%, while our amount of programming that we import from other outside sources, whether that be from across Vermont or from even further sources outside that a local member wants to see on our channels, those shows have decreased by about 7%. So in all honesty, the amount that we're showing has remained about the same, but it's more locally focused as opposed to outside of our immediate area, which I think is a good thing. Honestly, it means that local people are creating more, which is great. Yeah, so it adds up, the whole local programming adds up to about 106 days, which seems like a lot. That's, it doesn't lend itself to a ton of reruns. Every show gets, I guess, roughly 1 rerun in that, or 3 reruns in that, by that metric, but I don't want to get too into the weeds there. This is one of our local producers who has contributed so much to this increase in local content. This is Chris Ratter from the Brattleboro Reformer. and he's been creating a show that's called the Reformer News Break that he submits weekly. And he's out in the community covering news stories all the time. And he figured, well, I'm just going to take a few video clips and stitch them together and provide some narration for context. And that's been one of our greatest developments, I think, in the last fiscal year, is receiving this kind of content very frequently. And it's great to have local news on our channel, since what we do isn't objectively news, but our members, by all rights, can create news programs. And so now we have that void kind of filled. Here's another great example of another new local producer who's been contributing to our increase in local programming. This is Daryl McElveen, and he's just a very creative individual who came to us just with so many ideas. And, we're trying our best to make it all happen. And he's a musician, he's an artist, and he's been interviewing local musicians, local artists. He's been showcasing some of his art as well. And he's done a lot of editing in our editing facilities, and going to local events, and trying to get to know some of the players and all these local organizations and everything. He's a really good interviewer too. So looking at our facilities use and the metrics around that, usage of our in-house camera kits increased by 13%. So that's mostly, the Canon camcorders that I referred to earlier. Those are our baseline cameras. We've only been lending out the pocket cinemas just a little bit, but overall, our camera kits are seeing more and more use, which is good, from more local producers again. And our edit station usage has decreased by about the same amount, by about 13%. I attribute that mostly to staff producers preferring to use their own devices rather than BCTV's computers. Some of our producers prefer to edit at home or edit on their own laptops, even if they're sitting in the studio. And because if you look at the way that's broken down, the amount of member usage has remained about the same, but the amount of staff usage of the editing facilities has decreased. So that's why I attribute it to our producers. And I don't think that's a glaring, really bad thing we should be worrying about. I just think, they're changing the way that they're working. Exactly. That's true. I will see, like in a timesheet, like someone will edit a meeting in like an hour and it was a 3-hour long meeting. And I'm like, that was quick. But I mean, they have it down. They're getting it down. And I will say our studio usage also has drastically increased. Assuming I ran all the numbers right, which I double checked, it's almost about double than it was last year. I'd like to attribute this partially to just sort of, again, coming out of this this era of COVID where people were not going out and utilizing things like our studio more. We've also had a number of new studio shows this past fiscal year, which I'll talk about a little more. And I attribute it to sort of a mixture of those things. And honestly, we've remained very consistent with the amount of folks and the amount of trainings that we're giving every year, mostly to new members or to youth. And one thing that I am tracking more closely now is how many youth are we training specifically, rather than just how much training are we doing. So another thing I attribute to the increased facilities usage is that people are using our studio for podcasting now, which I think is really cool. This is the Brattleboro Words Trail, who have been plugging away at recording some podcasts that one day will get to air. But we do still appreciate their presence, them coming in to record, and they're not the only people recording podcasts. We have at least one very regular podcast, another one who has recently joined as a member who is looking to start doing it more, and there's probably someone else I'm missing. This is another example of a new producer, Joel Vina, who's sitting on the floor over there, has been using the studio for how-to videos of how to make Indian slide guitars and just performance videos. He's a really unique individual and a musician. And so we appreciate that he's been involved with us as well, along with Vidi Sala, who is standing on the left side of the image there. I've also been trying to offer for nonprofits the ability to, again, like I alluded to earlier, get their message out there, public service announcements, and I'm offering to be the face and the person to help do that, and by hosting BCTV open studio sessions where the nonprofits can come in and we can have a conversation. Sometimes it's about a specific program. This particular one with the Mover was about their new microtransit program, new at the time. I did this with the Connecticut River Conservancy recently. And so I'm trying to use the studio more to help get nonprofits in there and interview them and ask them about what they're up to in the community. We've had open studios before, but I think this is the first time the ED has really stepped in to sort of be that face and that point person. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to find a host. So here's just a list. I mean, this is kind of a big old list of some of our most regular producers, and Maria Dominguez being, definitely the one who creates the most amount of series and different kinds of content in the community, with a total of 36 shows over the course of the year, which I will say is quite a bit when you consider how much work goes into editing each show, and a lot of detail and work does go into editing each show, so that each one has proper titles throughout the entire thing. It sounds, it looks good, it makes sense, it flows. Russ is another example, who has submitted 24 shows this year through his veteran events, and Couch Potato Productions, which is sort of a tongue-in-cheek series name, and he would film just a variety of things around the community and like music and just really anything. George Harvey with his show Energy Week, which happens in the studio, was also a consistent presence. 51 shows. I think he must have only missed 1 week. What's up? Camp Week. Yeah. Yeah. Although whenever he misses a week, he's like, I'm doing 2 shows next week. So I guess we eluded him there. Derek Jordan with the World Fusion Show, which used to happen in the studio, happens more remotely. I believe he's taking a hiatus now, but he did submit 26 shows to us throughout the course of fiscal year 24. We have church services like St. Mike's Episcopal Church and Trinity Lutheran Church, who submitted 51 and 35 shows respectively. Like I mentioned earlier, Daryl McElveen, Sunflowers Court was 11 shows. We're just very grateful to all these producers who are very regularly supporting BCTV and just getting their stuff out there. We are just stoked to be their distribution network and to help them create. So staff only produced 15% of all the local programming that was on our community channel. And, for those who are listening now or in the future who may not know, BCTV has a community channel and a government education channel. Community channel being mainly content made by the community or in the community, whereas GovEd is more boards and things of that nature. So the amount of staff produced programming is going down. And I mentioned earlier, the amount of total programming is the same, which means strictly we are getting more content produced by local people, which I think is, again, just great. Some of the stuff that the staff does cover, though, are the open studios. Gallery Walk we film every month and compile like a 10-15 minute video. Brattleboro Literary Festival, we do election results, the Harris Hill Ski Jump. There's a new local business/nonprofit. They have a couple different arms called the Heart Rose Club. I've been booking live music over there and using BCTV's equipment and volunteers and interns to help document some of those acts as well. We did Meet the Candidates last year. I believe that was probably right near the beginning of last fiscal year. We've been covering things for Next Stage Arts, the Rock River Players, the Root Social Justice Center. We have our news program, Vermontitude. We have Voices Live, which is a collaboration with Vermont Independent Media. Montpelier Connection is something that Putney State Rep Mike Murowicki hosts in the studio. And there's obviously tons of local boards that we cover as well. Tons of them. So we also always try to engage youth, absolutely, because I think, in order for us to stay relevant and for us to stay really cutting edge, we want young people involved with us. We want them to become interested with what we're doing and for us to learn from them and from them to learn from us. We do this through a variety of things, some more structured than others. The BCTV video camp being the most structured form of youth engagement that we do. I believe we had 8 or 9 campers this year. Does anyone remember? 8. We had eight campers this year. We also last year sent or had the Insight Photography's video class come here and do a demonstration. Our video camp also went to Insight this year to sort of have some skill sharing opportunity there. BUHS TV submits shows to us weekly when the school year is starting. They might even do it a couple times per week sometimes. And that's a show that we coordinate with like the media instructor over there about, and they have visited the studio in the past, though I don't think they did so in the last fiscal year, but I've offered that to the media instructor and I want to get back on that. I also managed to connect with the Academy School, who do a Nebula News program within their own within their own time at their school. And I said, hey, why don't you come to BCTV and shoot an episode here? And they did exactly that toward the end of their school year back in May or June. We visit career fairs, mainly the only one I've been involved with so far was at Keene State College, and they have a very robust film program there. And so I got to talk to a lot of film students, mostly graphic design students, about opportunities at BCTV. And just again, just trying to get the good word out there. And then we also have we support interns. I've sort of formalized an internship program a little bit more compared to it was, I feel like interns were sort of loose, like come in, do some work. All right, if you need us to sign off on anything, we'll sign off on something. But and that's still fine, well and good, and we still engage with interns in that way. But I've also tried to offer paid internships as well, and we supported 2 paid internships this past summer. One of which is a bright young student who's studying music production at SUNY Purchase right now. The other of which was another very bright young individual who was looking to get into video production work, and who this is actually her last week as an intern, and she'll become a BCTV field producer starting next week. So we also have the Hometown Media Awards, which we submit to every year. This is a film festival hosted by the Alliance for Community Media, which is a nationwide organization. And we won 2 awards for their film festival. The first one being from Chris Ratter's series, Reformer News Break. The category was News Independent Producer on the series level. And I won't play this entire video here, but I will just show you just a few things about how this works. He's got just clips of events happening. This is like a Lego thing that happened at the Brattleboro Museum and Art Center. He talks to the people about what's going on. And he narrates a little bit over it to show as well. And he just stitches all of these together. They're really only like a minute and a half to 2 minutes per story, but you get a very solid sense of what's happening. And I think just seeing the imagery, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, but the imagery of what's happening for these stories and the movement of it too, I think is just a great complement to the medium that BCTV can offer in delivering news. Our other award winner, we had 2 this year, was for Seth Thomas, who works for the town of Brattleboro, for his video he made with the Brattleboro Fire Department called Meet the Brattleboro Fire Department, which is just a stunning looking video. Really, like you watch it and you're like, man, I want to work for the fire department now. But it's a really good video. Again, I won't play the entire thing, but you'll just see like some of the video that Seth was able to film using BCTV's equipment. And we're honored that this won an award. It included also, not only just like sort of general training things, but interviews with the leadership over there at the fire department as well. You can stop. So I want to transition a little more over to money now. So as most of you probably know, the majority of our funding, roughly 80-ish% comes from Comcast, who is a cable operator in our service territory. And they pay us 5% of their gross receipts every quarter as part of their obligation to provide public access programming to the people that they serve. So our cable revenue is, again, solely based on how many subscribers we have in the area. Comcast acquired our other cable operator a few years ago, Southern Vermont Cable. And so there's split up into a couple different areas, so we can kind of break it up and who's dropping cable, who's adding cable, but we can't really see. What we do know is that the Brattleboro area is starting to decrease. People are dropping cable in the Brattleboro area, whereas the outlying towns, I think, like probably Putney to Townsend to Newfane to Jamaica and sort of that area, we're actually seeing increases in revenue, which means partially that Comcast's method of paying us is a little different than Southern Vermont Cable's. So by default, we started making more money, but also it just seems like more people are signing up for cable in that area. And I can't say for sure why, but I suspect maybe it's because there are expanded services Comcast can offer that Southern Vermont Cable couldn't. Just a theory. So we also received a $44,000 bequest this fiscal year from the estate of a local person who passed away and wanted to donate a lot of her money to local organizations, and we're very grateful for that. Helped a lot in our just throughout the course of our year. You'll see, when you see our expenses, that definitely helped a lot. in addition to the $45,000 that we received from the Vermont State Legislature, who's been supporting us for a few years now. I will say event sponsorships did lag compared to previous years. I think there's somewhat of a disconnect with, I don't know these people and Core did, and so like they're not responding to my calls or emails or whatever, and so be it. But I'm looking to just continue to put myself out there to connect with local businesses and to just keep sponsorships alive. Again, I did get a couple new ones, albeit small, but it's just, this is an ongoing thing I'm going to be working on because I understand how important it is to do things like town meeting and graduations on a pro bono basis. And I think I can sell that to local businesses. And I will say just our overall production fees we're receiving from select boards, other boards, and just from local organizations and clients who are asking us to cover their events, it's continually increasing, which is just a beautiful thing, I think. So here's our cable revenue. The little red stripe is totally gone because Southern Vermont Cable is no longer operating in our area. So you will see once that little red stripe goes away, the blue increases because, again, Comcast was paying us more than Southern Vermont Cable to begin with. So they had to adjust, the amount that they were paying us. It went from like Southern Vermont Cable paid us like something like, 2% of their gross receipts, whereas Comcast pays us 5%. So that's the reason why it went up. And now, as you see, 2023 to 4, it's going down just a little bit. Again, that Brattleboro area is going down, the other area is going up, but as a net, it's kind of going down just a little bit, which is, honestly, very, it's very normal for this to be happening in Vermont and in the country. All access media centers are seeing this. But we're very fortunate because this is very minimal compared to what other stations are seeing across the state. And in fact, we're one of like 2 or 3 stations in the entirety of Vermont. Vermont has about 24 stations. We're about one of 2 or 3 that saw increases from fiscal year 22 to 23. That's very unusual for an access media organization to see. Moving on to our expenses. We do have increased staffing costs. That's partially just due to like raises and everything. It's also just our staff is growing. And so it exceeded the budgeted amount for last fiscal year because we're taking on more staff, because we're taking on more meetings and more gigs and other things. Our new website development also did cost a decent chunk of change, about $10,000, but well worth it. And we really squeezed all the work out of them we could get. Because I mean, I like the website project predates my involvement with BCTV, but I get the sense that it was being worked on with this one company for almost nearly a year. So I think we really got a lot of personalization, a lot of service and support out of that purchase. Everything's kind of increasing: phone and internet rates, insurance rates, travel expenses as well. We flew to this conference in San Jose for the Alliance for Community Media this year, and that made that line item go a little bit over budget. Our producer party went a little bit over budget, and so we're just adjusting these things so they'll be more accurate in this fiscal year. Marketing as well. It's just getting more expensive to print things. We did get a new banner that then blew over at a graduation. And again, there's a lot of this can be attributed, one, to sort of inflation and general increasing costs, but also just to the fact that BCTV is growing, and as a result, our expenses are growing too. And I'm trying to budget for that as best as possible. You'll see expenses and income sort of like in the last 3 years, sort of following each other. And I'm grateful for that because our income is still exceeding our expenses. But yeah, everything is just getting bigger and bigger on every side of things. So it's just something to be very vigilant about and to look out for. To update you on legislative things in the states and the country, man, did we have a crazy legislative session in the state this past year. I spent a couple of days up at the State House to talk with some of our local legislators and to get a sense of where things were at, to sit in on committee hearings about bills that were being crafted that would pertain very much so to organizations like BCTV. Both the House and the Senate of the state came up with independent solutions to fund BCTV and other stations long term. There were different forms of taxes that would be on a streaming service or on a telephone pole, or different taxes that different companies would have to pay. And well, in the end, neither solution moved forward to the extent that it would become law. But the finance committees on both the House and Senate side said, well, we want to fund these people regardless. And so we're now in the Secretary of State's, we're being paid by the Secretary of State, but we're now in the state's budget as baseline funding, meaning they're giving us at least $1 million every year. And I say 1 million on the state level. That turns out to be anywhere between 20 and 40,000 on the BCTV side of things. Excuse me. On the federal side of things, I've been following the state a lot closer. On the federal side, the big standout for me is that earlier this spring, the Department of Justice did rule that all live broadcasted municipal meetings will have to either have live captioning or American Sign Language interpretation by 2027, which is going to, we're already in compliance with that, but it's putting somewhat of a fire under us to comply even further and to work with the town to see what solution works best for them. And so as a result of that, and I just want to say, this is the Vermont Access Network down here in the bottom right. This is at the annual meeting. You'll see this is just everyone who showed up from all the stations across Vermont. But switching back to what I was just saying, as a result of this captioning thing, that's going to be a focus of ours. This is what's coming. Captioning is coming, whether we like it or not. And it's something that we're going to start doing. If all goes well, we're going to make some purchases through our capital budget this year. And we're going to start implementing some captioning solutions for select board meetings because it's what the town wants. It's what we want in lieu of American Sign Language interpretation. This is all not, I'm saying this, but nothing's set in stone yet. But we are fully planning to invest in this equipment. What else is coming? A podcast studio that was the frame was constructed about last year. And now we're taking some more serious steps to finish that project in the coming months as well, to offer another space, a quiet space with very sound dampening and dead space for folks who record audio programs in, since it is an increasing demand for BCTV. It's crazy. Like, you think audio and video together, that's the perfect media. And then no, people want to go back. People want just audio now. And it's fine with me. We do what the people want to do. On the wavelength of audio, we're also looking to expand our audio services. We end up going out to field productions with our camera gear and everything, live stream gear, and we're ready to go. And the one thing that can sometimes be a fault is the audio. And it's because it's traditionally hasn't been BCTV's responsibility to provide audio services for a lot of these events we're covering. But it is oftentimes, a weak link in the production. It can be, at least, not always. It can be. And so we're working to build out more robust audio equipment to offer that to folks who want to hire us to cover their events, to get both good captured sound and maybe on the occasional gig to get good amplified sound in a room as well. And this will allow us to expand our services, to make more revenue, to train more people. I just see this as a way for us to be growing as well. And overall, I think through this and through our open studios and through our new cameras that we've gotten, I think, we're just overall trying to expand our services to local nonprofits, to creating public service announcements, and just for our membership overall. So now we know we're looking ahead to what's next, and the fun, this is the boring meeting. The fun meeting comes in a couple months, and we're going to plan to hold our producer party and awards at the Stone Church again this year. We put a deposit down. And it's going to be on the second Wednesday of the month in November, which is when we usually have board meetings. But this is going to be like a board meeting, but really fun, and probably nothing like a board meeting actually at all. And that's going to be at 6 p.m. At the Stone Church on November 13th. Again, second Wednesday. We're going to have lots of awards to give out and to celebrate our producers, delicious food and drink. And yeah, just an opportunity for everyone to mingle. This producer party was my first real involvement with BCTV last year. I knew the staff a little bit just because I was working at another station before, but I walked into the Stone Church on last year's producer party and was immediately like, I need to be a part of this because it's really special. It's just like a really tight community, and it's in the town I live in, and I have no regrets. And in fact, have nothing but, I don't know, whatever the opposite of regret is. Brattleboro Community Television. That's all, folks. So I think that's the state of the station. And I'd like to turn the member back over to Alex here to talk about member business and the election of officers, all that jazz.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's so great. I mean, often at board meetings, we're very focused on the month to month, the tight agenda, the business at hand. And so to be able to see everything encapsulated over the course of a year is really great. And so the next thing I have is to approve last year's meeting minutes. And so I would like to entertain a motion, which are included in the annual report. Minutes.
No, I think I printed the minutes from the last board meeting, not the.
Okay. We will table that. And we can move on to the board of the election of board members. I hope everyone knows that this is done through every year. It's done online through online ballot process. I can announce that all 4 of the candidates running for re-election have been re-elected. So congratulations. And what I will say is we also have 2 writing candidates, Mariam Diallo and Oscar Heller. And so this is a first in my tenure. And so what we will do is we will vote to nominate the elected individuals, these 4 today. And then the board is able to appoint individuals at future meetings. And so I have not yet spoken with these individuals because the election has it just ended. And so if they are interested in accepting their nomination and they're eligible to serve, we will extend to them one of our positions. And so I would like to, is there a motion to accept the results of the board, the election? All right.
Second.
Great. All in favor of accepting the nomination results as previously mentioned, please say aye. Aye. Great. Any opposed? Great. Now I will share that we also do have additional seats open on the board for anyone interested in serving. So if you're watching this at home and any one of those individual things you heard from Johnny about what we have been working on or will be working on is of interest to you, join the team and find a way to contribute. Particularly folks interested in youth engagement and the new kinds of programming around music and other media from other media organizations. Those partnerships only grow BCTV's reach and the quality of the production. And so without any further business, I will take comments from the public. And then in wrapping, really just to say thanks again for an incredible year, for summarizing it so well. And as Johnny said, we are growing and growing. And, not that I know how many things work, but every time I walk by the studio, there's something new now. And that's really exciting. Yes. Comment from the public.
Can I make a small amendment to something Johnny said?
Sure.
I would love to do it at the mic if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm so sorry, honey.
Member of the public.
As usual, I'm saying my sorries, but I would just like to clarify that our town meetings are not pro bono. We wrap our fees in with a yearly allotment, which is based on our town's populations. So that's paid annually. Sorry, just to clarify that one item. Thank you.
Great. No, that's great. And it alludes to the behind the scenes work that the team and staff do all year. For those who may or may not know, it is town meeting season starts now. And so getting on budgets, engaging with towns, understanding how do they want to present their town to the rest of the community and region. That's the kind of partnerships that I think we're excellent at. And so thank you for that. Yeah, well, and it's difficult. I mean, I think that, one thing I certainly appreciate about town meeting day is it's representative of Vermont's commitment to democracy. And so BCTV's ability to help every community live into those values is remarkable. And so those kinds of partnerships, again, I think last year it was maybe the town of Newfane, Winetta got an award because, every year there's a great municipality to partner with that we love.
Meetings, even though we are only cable to 8.
Yes. Great. Thank you. So any further discussion? Do I have a motion to adjourn the annual meeting for BCTV? Great. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great. Thank you all for coming.